An intrapsychic depression is neither biochemical nor situational. It's more related to being out of alignment with your true self, your authentic self.
From a nervous system lens, depression is not so much a disorder, but more an adaptation. It's where your body has used all of its energy toward fight or flight and has no more energy to put toward fight or flight, which is the first state of protection from a nervous system lens.
What we have now, over decades and perhaps even centuries of evolution, gotten to a place in society, what we have now gotten to consider to be normal is scary to me.
Free to be me, free to sing sweet feathers and let me like a hug.
Welcome to Safe to Be Seen. We are Brandon and Darci, partners in life, love, and in rewriting the script. For years, we lived from old stories that kept us in survival. Stories of who we were supposed to be, what success was supposed to look like, and how we were supposed to show up in the world. But then we chose differently. We built safety in our bodies, reclaimed our nervous systems, and wrote a new story. A story rooted in expansion, intimacy, and wholeness. Now, we coach others to do the same, to find safety inside themselves, to break free from survival patterns, and to step fully into their life, their love, and their purpose. This is the space where your story gets to be rewritten too.
The Safe to Be Seen podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Darci and Brandon Burke do not claim to be experts. We have no intention to defend our beliefs or impose them onto others. This podcast provides a space to allow for us to share with others what it's like to be us. We desire to share our human journey with others. We advise you to seek professional counsel, therapy, and/or treatment from trained, credentialed, and certified professionals for any emotional, mental, and/or physical conditions you may be experiencing. What are some of the quirky or weird or just things that I do that you can easily poke fun at?
Well, I'm feeling bad because last couple episodes we talked about all the annoying things. We just keep on slamming on each other. It's okay. It's fun. It's fun poking at each other. The things that I find endearing about you and kind of goofy and funny. You always rub your feet together when you are enjoying something. Like when you're eating ice cream, which you don't do very much anymore. But when you're really enjoying something, you always your feet start rubbing together. I love that. And when you find something you like you stick with it. Smoothies, it's like that you get the same smoothie at the same place every time.
Yeah.
Coffee, same coffee. Like when you find something you enjoy, you stick with that for years sometimes.
Yeah.
And then you'll move on to something else that you like, but you're very devoted to the things that you really love. You don't really stray from them. Something that I find really endearing about you is just your love for affection. And you love to be cozy and to snuggle up to our kids and to me. You have a particular blanket that you love to snuggle in and get cozy in that you will not sleep without.
My grandma made that for me.
Yes, I know.
So it's very special.
Yeah. Yeah. All very endearing and yeah.
Well, I like how you spun it to endearing as opposed to how I said it as quirky or poking fun. So I'll take those as compliments, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They're unique to you.
Yeah.
They're what make you you.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I can provide some entertainment in those ways, maybe to you. So, well, do you want me to tell you something about you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let's hear it. Tell me all the endearing things about me.
Yeah, there's so many. The list is so long for sure. But I love it how, when we are eating, without fail, I'm not kidding, literally almost every time, you will somehow have found a way to have gotten your food like all over on your hands and, you know, on your face. It's super cute. I love, like, I feel like it's my opportunity, my privilege to like just know that after we eat, I'm gonna like help you clean up and like
Oh my
you know,
gosh.
wipe your face and say, hey, you got some mustard on your pinky. Don't rub that on your clothes or something like that. But
I'm not like a sloppy eater.
no, you're not. That's the funny thing. Like you're very proper and
Yeah.
like mannered and like
I don't
it's
know
just
how-
somehow your food ends up on your hands and on your face. Maybe it just has an affinity for you. It doesn't want to go anywhere. It wants to stay with you. So I don't know, but I think that's super cute. It's very endearing.
Thank you.
Also, it's just kind of a funny little quirky thing that you do is when you pull into a parking spot, I'm always like, do you see the lines that they have painted on the ground, like to indicate where the stall is, the parking stall?
What are you, the park police?
Well, I don't mean to be, and I usually don't say anything, but it's just inside. I kind of inside chuckle and like I'm like, oh, because you just like pull in however it happens to go. Like you're not worried about whether your car is straight or how close you are to one car or the other on either side of you, or you know, it's just kind of funny.
I do not pay attention to detail. I don't.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's what's beautiful about these endearing quirks is that they give a very good glimpse into who you are, right? Like another one that I'll give, if it's okay, this is really a beautiful one that is just, it's so good. But we one time were in, you know, kind of an intimate, small, kind of relatively small gathering of friends, and we were listening to some live music, just having a good time, doing a little bit of dancing, and you happened to kind of make your way up toward like the front, like really close to the performers, the people playing the music. And you were like really getting into the music and dancing. It was so beautiful. I was just sitting there like watching you, and you started like tapping your leg to the beat. And all of a sudden, the lead singer in the middle of his song, and you know, he's playing the guitar and lead singing, stops everything. And he taps on you because you were just like in your own world. He taps on you and he's like, excuse me, it's okay if you want to do that, if you want to like tap along, but if you're going to do it, you need to be on beat. I was like, oh no. I was like, that's, oh my gosh, is this going to traumatize her, embarrass her, like shame her? And the great thing, like I said, these little quirky, endearing things that we have as human beings, they give they shine such a light on who we are. Because what did you do? You just kept on tapping.
I got back on beat though, didn't I?
I don't know. I'm not going to say. We'll just leave it at that. But it was just beautiful to see that didn't ruffle your feathers or like knock you down or, you know, make you run away with your tail between your legs. No, you just kept on tapping and dancing and doing your thing. And what's really cool is later when you and I talked about it and just kind of chuckled, I love, and I'll never forget what you said. You said, you know, I've always sung just a little bit off key and been just a little offbeat. And I love that about myself.
Aw.
And that was beautiful. That was awesome because that's so true about you. And it's not that it's not that you can't dance. You're a great dancer. It's just you happen to be offbeat in that moment, and it did not, like, being called out for it didn't shut you down.
Aw.
And then you were able to recognize that, yeah, that's okay. I know that about myself, and I love that about myself.
Aw.
And so it's just really beautiful. All those things that I mentioned show me that you don't get caught up in frivolous, unimportant things. You just live authentically and freely and without concern for judgment or how you may appear or getting all wrapped up in like things being perfect. I love those things about you.
Aw, thanks, babe. That's
Yeah.
so sweet.
And we balance each other out really well.
Mhm.
As we've talked about before on here, you know, I'm the yin to your yang
Mm-hmm.
because I'm very much like a perfectionist. I'm very
Mhm.
detail oriented,
Yep.
to sometimes my detriment, but
But it's been good for me too, because there's definitely things I should pay more attention to, more detail to.
yeah, that's why we're a good
It's-
partnership.
We balance each other
Yeah.
out. Yeah, for sure.
Well, awesome. Well, today, Darci, we are going to talk about a topic that may, at first glance, seem to be kind of heavy or a downer or dark. But actually, what we want to do in this episode is we want to flip the script
Mm-hmm.
and we want to shine a different light on a subject, on a matter that has deeply impacted our lives, not only personally, but because we have several people in our lives close to us who have been affected
Mm-hmm.
by depression. We want to talk about depression today. And so I think importantly, we want to, from the beginning, we want to state that our intention in doing this episode is to, like I just said, to flip the script, to shine a different light, to make it so hopefully people can start to view depression in a way that does not result in shaming,
Mm-hmm.
in embarrassment. And we'll get into what all that means and what we learned through personal experience about depression and what it is.
Yeah. And I mean, probably depression is probably the most studied. I don't like calling it disorder because I don't think it's a disorder, but it's probably the most studied emotional mood disorder there ever has been. The studies that have been done on the causes of depression and the cures for depression. And I mean, I'm not exactly sure what the rates of depression are right now, but I know that they continue to go up.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they continue to like go down in age too, like younger and younger adults and kids are starting to experience symptoms of depression. So I think that the more discussions we have about it, the more helpful, especially like being able to offer different perspectives on it and different language around it, is super helpful.
Yeah.
Because it's just so highly prevalent in culture all throughout the world. And it's led to detrimental circumstances, suicide and death. And so I think the more conversations that we have around depression, and especially in the way that we're trying to talk about it today, I hope will be helpful to people and hopeful and just shine a different light on it.
Yeah. Very well said. So the way I look at depression, Darci, I see it as three basic categories. The first being biochemical, meaning there's some sort of chemical imbalance, usually in the brain, but of course affected by several different body systems, resulting in altered mood, depressed mood, and just feeling depressed. Then the second category that I kind of view it as situational or like reactive depression. This is a more transient, temporary depressive episode where it's based on having experienced some sort of very, very difficult life experience, divorce, death, illness, these types of things, some sort of very significant life event that kind of knocks you down, but it's transient. It's temporary.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third category that I consider when I look at depression, and this category is the most common of the three, is called intrapsychic depression. And intrapsychic depression is neither biochemical nor situational. It's more related to being out of alignment with your true self, your authentic self. And so intrapsychic depression is essentially where, due to suppression and or repression of emotion or unprocessed emotions, unprocessed, unhealed trauma,
Mm-hmm.
Living out of alignment with your authentic self, you begin to experience disconnection. So you have suppression, which leads to disconnection from self,
Mm-hmm.
and then, of course, from everything else in your life, which then leads to depression.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, from a nervous system lens, depression is not so much a disorder, but more an adaptation.
Yeah.
It's where your body has used all of its energy toward fight or flight and can no longer has no more energy to put toward fight or flight, which is the first state of protection from a nervous system lens, fight and flight. And when that doesn't work, when all your energy has gone toward that and your body's like, okay, this is not working, your nervous system puts you into called your dorsal vagal complex. It's the state where you experience shutdown, and your body is trying to protect you from perceived a perceived state of threat, which might be emotional overwhelm or unmet needs, or it's protecting you from feeling, basically because it believes that it's just too difficult for you to feel right now. And literally, your sensations shut off. And so all your bodily energy is going toward just keeping you alive. Your body's trying to conserve energy. It's like your nervous system, your body literally believes you're dying. And so it's trying to conserve you as much as it can. And that's why people experience either no emotions or very they don't feel a lot during that time, or they feel very little. It's, they might experience temperature changes in their body, digestion issues, because everything just slows down and shuts you down. It's actually really brilliant of your body, this protective mechanism that's trying to protect you from way too much a perceived threat of overwhelm, which, we've talked about. We've mentioned the different types of depression and what causes depression. And, I think you just can't name one thing. There's so many different reasons why people might go into a depressive state. Unresolved trauma, attachment wounds, prolonged states of stress, inauthentic living out of alignment. I mean, there's so many different causes of why people might go into a depressive state. But I think just even changing the language around depression would be so helpful, because when you use words like depression is a mental disorder, or depression is a flaw, or depression is just a disorder in general, that immediately brings shame to somebody.
Yeah.
And shame keeps the body in a protective state. The body cannot heal if there's shame involved. And so I think just being mindful about the language that we use around depression could really, make people more willing to go seek help. If there's not shame involved, then maybe more people would be willing to openly seek help when they start feeling these symptoms come on. And people don't choose to go into depression. It's not something that like they have choice over.
Yeah.
It's your nervous system's number one job is to protect you.
You're right.
And if it believes there's too much overwhelm, we've already extended way too much energy in these other defensive mechanisms, then the body lovingly shuts you down to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just even like changing the language around that can be super helpful.
That is so important what you just said, Darci, because as I think about my own personal experience, having battled depression, do you remember when like it got pretty dark and heavy for me? This was now about 7 years ago, 7 to 8 years ago. You kind of put your foot down and insisted that I go see someone because we had talked about it before. You had brought it up before, and I was always very against getting any help because I believed that it was tagging me as defective. Like it was. You're right. It was very shameful. And when it got really dark and heavy, and you insisted that I go. In fact, you were taking the initiative to schedule the appointment. It was to the point where I said, okay, fine, I'll go, but I won't go unless it's out of town. I'll go to someone, but not here, because I didn't want anyone to know that I was depressed. Such a great point that you make. And again, referring back to our intention for this podcast is to really try to shine a different light on this very, very serious and prevalent problem. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, when I was experiencing my depression, Darci, I really, as I look back on it now, I really believe that I was actually depressed for quite a long time, like several years. I don't know where it began exactly, but I know that it was well before when, the symptoms got really bad. And I realize now that what I was doing was I was compensating and or coping with it all those years through my schooling, through my work, through achievement, through hustle culture, by keeping myself really, really busy, focusing on performance, focusing on productivity, these kinds of things. That was my experience. My experience is now knowing that, holy cow, I think that I was actually, because of a lot of unprocessed, unresolved, unhealed trauma and inauthentic living, I was depressed for a long time. I was able to still really highly function. And so I'd like for you, if you would, to speak to that from a lens of nervous system, that you're an expert in, and also, so like what happens there? How does someone, like, I was running a very successful business. I was very involved in our kids' lives, coaching them and doing different things. I had callings in the church that we were members of, attending at that time.
Yeah.
How was I able to still function at such a high level? I want you to speak to that. And then if you don't mind, I would like for you to speak to your own experience about what it was like being the spouse, being the wife of a man who you watched go through depression.
Yeah, well, I think, Brand, what you were experiencing for so long was what I like to call masked depression or like functional freeze, where functional freeze is a state where you're functioning, like you're going to work, you are parenting, like you're doing the things that you need to do, but on the inside, you feel dead, you feel frozen. And again, each of these nervous system states, like you can only be in for so long. Like there's a lot of energy being mobilized in these states. And that's where like disease starts to happen when you're stuck in these survival states for so long that the energy going toward keeping you alive is taking energy from like other vital organs, causing like disease and illness and all these symptoms that people experience. But I think that you were for a very long time in like a functional freeze or like a masked depression state. Like I didn't even know for the longest time until it got really bad that you were experiencing depression. But functional freeze is probably one of the most prevalent states that I see people living in, where they function on the outside. They're going to work, they're doing their things, but they just feel dead and frozen inside. And from there, when all of your energy has been like used up in that state, is where people go into like the type of depression where you can't even get out of bed. Like you literally have no energy to use toward moving, and your body is just completely put you into complete shutdown. So it's just like your nervous system moving from like these different states in an attempt to keep you alive. And when the energy towards those states has been used up and your body's like doesn't see a way out, then it like thinks that you're dying and will put you into complete shutdown. Yeah, Brown, I mean, from my experience, like I said, I didn't even know that you were feeling so like dead inside. Because I think on the outside, you were doing all the things. You were going to work, building a successful business. You were being involved in our kids' lives. You weren't just like laying in bed all day long, not able to function. You were very much able to function and do life. But I think I remember you coming to me and just saying like, I'm really scared. Like there's something wrong. And that's when I started to get really scared, because it was the first time you had started being really vulnerable with me about it. I think you were scared to maybe tell me because you didn't want to worry me, or maybe you hadn't even realized how bad that it had gotten. But I think it was getting to a point to where it was becoming more noticeable on the outside by you just like, spending a lot more time in bed when you were home. You'd lost interest in things that we had loved to do before. So I was starting to like pick up on some things, and, when it started getting really bad and I was like, we need to take you in, like we need to get support, you need to get some help, and you didn't want to. And I think this is something to speak about, because I think especially for men, it's really hard for them to be vulnerable about saying like, I'm experiencing depression, because I feel like it's been so judged as like weakness.
Yeah, for sure.
And so men are not, if that's the perception, men are not going to seek help. And that's actually something that keeps people stuck in that state, is the fear of being judged and the fear of being vulnerable and the fear of wanting to go seek help.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I basically forced you to make that appointment and go get some help, but it was scary. And I felt really bad for you. Like I didn't realize, the depths of the pain that you were feeling on the inside. And, yeah, it was really hard. It was really hard.
Yeah. So we made the appointment, we went to the doctor, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It was like a 10-minute consultation type appointment where I was asked a couple of questions, And then he broke out his prescription pad and started writing me out a prescription and gave me the prescription and sent me on my way. Set a follow-up appointment for a month later to see how I was doing. When I went back and said that I wasn't doing any better, he just upped the dose of that prescription. Set a follow-up appointment for a month later. When I went back to see how I was doing, still wasn't doing any better. He upped the dose of that prescription. Then when I went back the next month and wasn't doing any better, after he had already upped the dose on this prescription a couple of times, he added a second prescription. And when I went back the next month and still wasn't doing much better, I was doing a little bit better after that, but he then added a third prescription. So a few months into my visit with this doctor, I am on 3 high-dose antidepressants. And I started to feel less pain, less sadness, less depression for sure. But I found, what those medications were doing to me, Darci, is they were making me also unable to feel my other emotions to their full extent. I was unable to feel a full extent of joy, of happiness, of peace, of satisfaction, fulfillment, gratitude. I feel like what we don't want to do in this episode is to downplay the importance of medication in certain situations, because I do believe that depression medication can be life-saving. It can be very, very helpful. But I also believe that, number one, it should be used as an adjunct to deeper healing and therapy that we'll get into here in just a minute, different types of healing and therapy that can help with depression. It should be used as an adjunct to that. And it should not be a life sentence. It should not be, you're just going to be on this for the rest of your life. And, when I got to a point after taking these medications for years, I can't remember how many, but at least, what was it? It was like 4 or 5 years. I remember going to one of my appointments because I had to have, I think it was every 3 months, I had to go back to see the doctor just to get refills on my prescriptions. And I got to the point where I didn't want to take them anymore. And I told him, I said, hey, I don't want to take these anymore. What do we do to get me off these? And he said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I still remember.
Yeah, I do.
You remember I came home and told you that? And I said, what do you mean? He said, it's working, right? Like you're not depressed. You're not suicidal anymore. And I said, well, yeah, but I also don't feel like I'm really living. And he was like, well, I don't think you should get off them. I highly discourage that. Well, that happened a couple of other times over the course of the next few visits where I was trying to inquire about how I could get off these medications after taking them for years. And my doctor was adamantly against it. And finally, it got to the point where I just took myself off them.
Yeah.
And that was brutal. Do you remember?
Yeah. Well, didn't you how did you know how much? Because you slowly weaned off
I just did
of
it
them.
myself.
Just slowly, you started cutting the pills in
I
half.
started cutting them up into quarters. And then after a few months of that, I cut them up into smaller pieces. And I just slowly, it took me about, I think it was 9 to 12 months of this weaning process. And finally, I was off them.
Yeah.
And, that, of course, that coincided, that weaning off of those medications coincided with a lot of other deep inner work that I was doing, a lot of unconventional therapy and, nervous system regulation work and somatic work and a lot of things, inner child work, shadow work, working on healing, unprocessed and very suppressed and repressed emotional trauma and different things that I didn't know was there. But
yeah, I think that it was man, I was in awe of you going through that. Seeing like your strength and bravery and courage in doing that, because that was hard for you weaning off of those,
Yeah.
the side effects of it.
Yeah, there were some really brutal side effects.
And I just want to
withdrawal symptoms.
And I just want to name that, like, this is your experience. This is how you do it. Like, please always consult with your medical physician.
Good point.
Like, don't just go, just like that can be very dangerous just to like go off of them. Like, please, like, this is Brandon's experience. This is the way that he did it.
I'm not saying that you should do what I did. Yeah, that's a good point.
No, like always consult your physician, especially if you want to start getting off your medications.
Yeah, I'm just telling my experience.
This is just Brandon's story. But I think it's important right here to name things that keep people stuck in depression. And I think that over-medicalization, where you're only treating neurotransmitters without addressing the body's need for safety and connection, keeps people stuck in depression. Yeah, because you can't just treat the neurotransmitters.
Well, right.
I think that's one of them. Shame. I think shame keeps people stuck in depression. I think forced positivity keeps people stuck in depression, because you're not meeting the body where it's at, and you're not honoring the body's innate wisdom. It's in that state for a reason. And forced positivity is kind of bypassing the body's wisdom. Yeah. And then I think isolation. Not having somebody that you can co-regulate with, somebody that you can feel safe with, somebody that you can talk to. Like, those four main things are keeping people stuck in depression. Yeah. And so I think that there's so much more to be said about just treating a neurotransmitter. And the deficiency, I think, in the neurotransmitter is coming from an inflamed nervous system. Because your nervous system is connected to every single organ in your body. Yeah. And it disrupts the flow of everything in your body. And so, medications are so helpful, and in a lot of situations, life-saving. We are not shaming or judging anybody who takes them. Like, I think it honestly saved your life. Yeah. And I'm so grateful for them. The message we want to put out there today is that it doesn't have to be a life sentence. Right. And that you should be addressing the needs of the body, which is any protective state that your body is in. What it's asking for is safety and connection. Yeah.
Well, Darci, your point is so great, because you're right. Medication is helpful. It's there for a reason. The problem is when the medications are just freely given with no regard for digging deep to the root issue. In other words, it's not even, the question should not be why the depression. The question should be why the pain. Yeah. So again, going back to some things we touched on earlier, I just want to emphasize that this category of depression that we're mostly talking about, intrapsychic, this is where there's not a biochemical imbalance. It's not situational or reactive to some terrible life event that you've just experienced. This is a depression caused by repression and suppression of your unprocessed trauma. Now, we're not talking about, we've mentioned before that you can classify trauma in two ways, either big T trauma. These are the big, huge, very traumatic and catastrophic life events. But the small T trauma is the unprocessed emotional wounding from childhood, for example, or the inauthentic living, or the not feeling seen or heard.
Unmet needs,
unmet emotional needs mostly, right? That build up so over time to the point where, usually a lot of, at least, men I can speak to, and my experience was this: all of that suppressed emotion and unprocessed small T trauma, and not fully expressing yourself. Imagine it like, it's like you're pushing this big beach ball you're in the water and you've got this big beach ball and you're pushing it down under the water.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can only hold it down for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And when you let it go, it's going to go flying.
Mm-hmm.
And that often happens, that the symptoms of depression often culminate and become their worst around midlife, for men especially, because it's like, what I believe in this category of depression, intrapsychic, it's the soul's way of rebelling against your inauthentic living.
Mm.
Basically reaching down and shaking you awake and saying, you lived the way you had to live in the first half of your life, building ego identity, understanding boundaries, living according to maybe someone else's desires or expectations. But now we're done.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for you to return home to self
Mm-hmm.
and to start living your authentic life.
Yeah.
And I view it as like, depression, Darci, is not a defect. It's a brilliant adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a malfunction. It's an impressive survival mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a disease to be cured. It's your authentic desires and life to be heard.
Mm.
That's how I view it.
Yeah.
I view it as a summons to awaken.
Yeah.
I view it as a call to consciousness.
Mm.
So I don't view depression as a problem to be solved. I view it as a message to be heard. Like, listen, what is it trying to tell you?
Yeah.
Get curious about that. And I'm not understating, I'm not discounting how difficult it is. I've lived through it.
Mm-hmm.
I've felt the darkness and the despair and the hopelessness. But what I'm saying is, I'm so grateful at the same time for that darkness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad it found me, because it was through that, by heeding its call, by looking at it closely, that I was able to come home to self and rediscover myself. Yeah. And, the goal of healing depression or treating depression should not be, in my opinion, viewed as becoming happy. It should be viewed as becoming conscious.
Becoming alive.
Becoming aware.
Yeah.
And becoming alive.
Yeah. That's such a good, a really profound way to spin it. Your state creates your story, and nothing will change until you rewrite the script and elevate the somatic script, so your body can finally call in what's meant for you. In Holos, we identify your blocks and rewrite the somatic story, because patterns live in the body. We install new beliefs so they're anchored, embody new truth, rewrite the subconscious, and shift you from fear and lack into expansion and abundance, in service to the divine feminine. Holos is where you rewrite your feminine story. It's where you anchor the freshest upgrade, the state your next chapter requires, and live from it every single day. If you're ready to stop trying to change your life from the surface and instead shift the body that creates it, apply now at www.holoshealing.info and step into the container that changes everything. There are seeds in the forest that only become activated when there's forest fires. And I think about that, about how sometimes these struggles and these trials and the pain that we go through are the activations to reveal deeper potentials within all of us, and to help us transform into something bigger and to expand into something more. And sometimes the activation required for that is painful.
Yeah.
and it's confronting and it feels like resistance when really it's just unfamiliar.
Mm.
And I think that even just like you spoke of, like changing the language of, like, a lot of times people who are in depression feel like they're broken, but you're not broken. You're just patterned.
Mm.
You know, you're patterned to have been living in such a way for so long that that's become the normal state of your nervous system, even if it's uncomfortable. Your nervous system, like the baseline of your nervous system, becomes survival instead of like connection and safety and regulation.
Yeah.
And so that's why healing and why change can feel so uncomfortable, not because it's wrong or because you're lazy or because you don't have enough will or drive. It's because it's unfamiliar, and anything unfamiliar is unsafe to the nervous system. And so we've talked about this before, that like that resistance you feel, it's just that. It's just your body trying to keep you in a state that has meant to keep you in a survival state. And even if it's uncomfortable, the body will keep you there because that's what's familiar.
Mm.
So I love thinking about, you know, these hardships and these trials and these difficulties that we go through is really, they're just kind of gifts dressed up in work clothes,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, Darci, I'm not just saying it. As difficult and dark and painful as it was, not just for me, but for you, for our kids,
Mm-hmm.
I am so grateful for it. I am so thankful for my rock bottom.
Yeah. I mean, the potential that it unmasked in you and the aliveness that it brought out in you, I don't know if it could have come out any other way, Brand, honestly. Maybe it could have. But I mean, it completely transformed you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing, actually.
I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
I just wanted to speak, Darci, for a minute before we jump into some of the ways that we have found to be very effective and beneficial for treating and healing depression.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to speak for a minute to the fact that to me, it's very scary that what we have now over decades and perhaps even centuries of evolution gotten to a place in society, what we have now gotten to consider to be normal,
Mm-hmm.
is scary to me. For example, achievement over authenticity, independence over connection,
Mm-hmm.
and performance and productivity over presence. I think those things are directly connected to the increasing rates of depression.
Mm-hmm.
And how, like, I can relate very, very intimately with my story being that I was just completely unaware that I was coping with and covering up my depression
Mm-hmm.
by just going harder.
You just thought it was part of your personality.
Yeah. I just thought, well, I'm an overachiever. I'm a hard worker. I'm very dedicated. I'm very driven. I've always kind of jokingly said, I will never say that I'm the smartest man in the room, but I will outwork anybody.
Mm-hmm. You will. And it has served you in many ways.
Yeah. There's good, you know, there's light and dark to everything.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, I was completely unaware that I was using that, like you spoke to just a minute ago. That was my adaptation for acceptance, for belonging, for love, for recognition, for being seen, was to be a really hard worker.
Yeah.
And to be an achiever and to be, you know, and the problem for me was it was used as a way to kind of cover up the bigger issue and to really dig deep into like some really profound discoveries that I made when I was willing and able to really start looking inward at myself. And so with that said, let's jump into some of our favorite ways to, I'll speak to some of my favorite ways to treat heal and or manage depression. And then I'm really excited to hear from your nervous system lens and from maybe your own experience, what you find to be beneficial. Is that cool?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think as I look at my own experience, Darci, I look at the timeline of my healing, and in really, I don't want to put these in any particular order of importance, but I will start with having trauma-informed therapy. In other words, for me, it was so beneficial to regularly meet with a trauma-informed therapist
Mm-hmm.
to do, and what does that mean, trauma-informed? I'll let you speak to that. That's your area of expertise, but basically I'll just say that that's what led me to making very important discoveries about my deep inner self,
Mm-hmm.
such as internal family systems, parts work, inner child work, basically, shadow work, starting to get on a basic level. The depth of my work with my nervous system and my somatic awareness came later with your help. But in the initial stages, before you started working in this field,
Mm-hmm.
I started to get a little bit of, I had a little bit of an introduction to nervous system work and somatics, so that I could start to understand the importance that my body was playing in all of this, in my depression. It wasn't just in my head. It wasn't, I think what people need to understand is getting out of depression is not up here. This type of depression, at least, if you have a chemical imbalance that's being treated with medication, that's different perhaps. But what we're talking about is this intrapsychic depression,
Mm-hmm.
where I didn't realize the importance that my body needed to play in this healing process. And so having this trauma-informed therapy was so important.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything you want to speak to about that?
Well, I just want to say, when you let's name some common symptoms of depression: fatigue,
Mm-hmm.
sadness, not feeling emotion, lethargic,
Yeah.
low energy, unmotivation, and then also probably negative thoughts. But if you take, there's a long list of symptoms and they vary in people. Most of them are body-based symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So not involving the body in your healing process, you're missing out on 95% of information that is so helpful towards your healing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was something that before I started learning about this and helping people who are experiencing depression, that I've thought for so long it was just in your head.
Yeah.
That it was just a mindset thing. It's not a mindset.
No.
Changing your mindset is not going to heal your depression. Is it part of it? Is it helpful? Yes. But if you have a body that feels so down and so low energy, your energy is created from your nervous system. It's the energy freeway of your body. It's where energy comes from.
Mm-hmm.
If you have no energy in your body and you're lethargic and you're tired and you're unmotivated, well, guess what that's going to create? Sad thoughts.
More depression.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's really important to name. It's not a mindset problem, And I don't know, I get so I try not to get frustrated or judgmental of people who say this when speaking about people that they know that have depression, when they're just just snap out of it.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Depression is not just something you just snap out of,
Note to our listeners and viewers, don't say that to people that are depressed.
Yeah, and there's so much to be said about attunement.
Yeah.
If you know somebody who is experiencing depression, first of all, just that language, you're experiencing depression, meaning it's not going to last forever. It's something you're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
Not saying
it's not part of your identity.
Yeah,
it's not who you are.
Yeah, not saying you're depressed.
Yeah.
Oh, I see you're experiencing depression. Okay, attunement means you meet them where they're at. I can see this is really heavy for you right now.
Yeah.
I can see you're really overwhelmed. How can I best support you right now? Just the practice of attunement with somebody is a felt sense experience.
Mm-hmm.
And meeting them, which is going to help them themselves meet their own bodies where they're at. Their body doesn't lie. The body speaks truth. And when you try to deny the truth and the wisdom that your body is telling you, you are prolonging your healing. So yeah, I think that's something really important to name.
So some of my favorite somatic practices, in other words, involving the body, became breath, yoga, and my all-time favorite, dancing.
And drumming.
Yeah, drumming, I would put in the category, let's just jump right to that one. I have a category that I consider to be like artistic expression, like expression of my authenticity through art. And my form of doing that is music. I love to drum.
Would you call this, Brown, the things that you're doing, like what you're doing for a prolonged healing? Because these things didn't come about right away, right?
No, yeah, this is just all like, well, for example, like the drumming, that was something that came out in me after I healed. Like, I don't want to say healed in that I'm healed, like, but you know what I mean? Like what I'm trying to say is that when you start to heal and you start to tap into your true essence and your authenticity, all of a sudden gifts that were hidden or creativity that was stifled start bubbling up to the surface. And it's a beautiful thing. For example, for me, drumming, I didn't know that. I mean, I played the little snare drum in 6th grade band when I was forced. Like I had to pick an instrument. I was forced to do band in 6th grade as part of the deal. So I was like, well, I'll pick the snare drum. But that was like 1 year, 6th grade. And I had never drummed since. And it was just, within the last years, roughly, that I reintroduced myself into drumming, and I absolutely love it. And it's a way for me to express artistically. I also love to write poetry. I love to write music. So those are some, expression, like authentic expression through an artistic way is really beneficial. I think, Darci, as I look at my experience and my story, I would have to say one of the an additional right up there toward the top thing that I would recommend to someone who is like, well, what do I do? How do I treat? How do I heal depression? It is through authentic connection and through emotional expression. Do you remember, like, one of my huge breakthroughs was when I was asked to be on a podcast? And it was a few months into my healing journey, after I'd already started meeting with my trauma-informed therapist and doing some of this stuff. But so a few months into that, what I considered to be one of my many like big breakthroughs was when I opened up.
Yeah, vulnerability.
It was when I was vulnerable. It was when on this podcast, I decided to talk about my depression openly. And that was so healing for me. Not only the actual authentic expression, but the connections that came afterward from men who approached me grateful that I did so because they had similar experiences.
Yeah.
They felt similarly and didn't know what to do. Like, it's like this big, huge problem that multiple people have and nobody dares to talk about it. And when I was willing and able to talk about it, it's like the floodgates opened up to my healing and to creating beautiful connections that then just further helped me heal. And so I would say that's a big one. Journaling is very good. I would say I'll do two more of my favorites and then you jump in. But I would say time in nature is a big one for me. I love to go on hikes. I love to get up early, about an hour before the sun rises, do a hike, pick a spot on my hike and watch the sun come up. If I'm not doing that, I'm doing a daily walk with either you or the dogs or both. I love to be in or around water. Being out in nature, being in the sun, breathing fresh air, so important. Cannot be underestimated or understated. And then the other thing I'll mention that has been and was huge for me is exercise. Like moving your body is so important. It boosts your mood naturally through the increased endorphins and serotonin, and it lowers cortisol. It has so many incredible benefits. It moves stuck energy. And so, yeah, those are some of the things that I would recommend that were and have been super helpful for me in treating, healing, or managing depression. What do you think? What do you have to say?
Yeah, those are so good. Well, I would just say that basically when you are healing from depression, your body is thawing out, basically. And in order for the body to thaw out, what it's asking for is safety. So for safety cues. And so it's a lot of work with neuroception. Neuroception is your threat detector, like always scanning for danger. And we want to work, a lot of the work that I do with my clients is working with their neuroception. That's the first thing we work with is neuroception, is bringing in safety cues. So you do that by orienting to the place that you're in, noticing colors, noticing shapes, noticing patterns. What are you smelling? What are you seeing? What are you feeling without judgment? Working with your neuroception and inviting in safety cues is what is going to help the body thaw out and help it come back alive again. I also want to name that this is a very slow process. It's meant to be. You're supposed to thaw out slowly. The body won't respond through force, and it won't respond through like these big outbursts. What we're wanting is like tiny micro moments every day of signaling safety and connection to the body. Because when there's enough buildup of safety and connection in the body, then the body is going to believe that it's safe to come out of this state of protection. It's all about safety and it's all about connection. So, safety cues. I would start by doing tiny micro moments every day of activation. If you're like not feeling anything, like you're shut off to sensation and you're barely feeling anything and you can't get out of bed, maybe it's this day you're just going to work on like maybe squeezing your fists for 5 seconds and then releasing and just slowly feeling like the sensation in your hands or in your feet or in your sit bones, like doing you squeeze and then you release. We're just inviting in like tiny micro moments of activation and of feeling. Maybe it's humming. Maybe it's singing. These things that work with your vagal toning and your vagus nerve, which is connected to your parasympathetic, which puts you into rest and digest states. So safety cues. And maybe it's like noticing small sensations. So maybe it's like a warm glass of tea and like feeling the warm cup in your hands. Maybe it's putting on like a heated blanket and feeling the warmth and the sensation of the blanket. What we're wanting to do is invite in sensation and invite in feeling slowly. Slow signals safety to the body. So safety cues, tiny activations, micro moments. Maybe it's like short walks, short walks every day. Daily rituals that you can look forward to, like a bath or like lighting a candle or just having somebody sit with you. Like not even somebody there to necessarily talk to, but just having a safe person that is sitting next to you or holding you can make really big differences. Co-regulation is what that is a felt sense of co-regulating with somebody where we get to experience like what we call mirror neurons, where we can feel the presence and feel the attunement of another human being. These are all signaling to the body safety. We want to first build up a lot of safety cues in the body. Your skin is the biggest organ of the body, and it is connected to your autonomic nervous system. And when we, it's just so like, healing can be so just not require money, like not require so much work. It really is just like returning to like basic grounding, basic, authentic things that we do with our body every day. Like even a hammock. I was telling you about this the other day. A hammock mimics being held like in a womb, which is where babies feel very safe in that space. And that's why we swaddle our babies when they come out, put them in a tight blanket, because it calms them down. It reminds them of the womb space. It signals safety and it signals connection. So as adults, like buy a hammock where it can kind of mimic that feeling of being held in a womb, and you feel warm, you're held in something, and you're rocking, which also signals safety to the body, which was where we learned as babies to feel like that safety and that connection.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Being water also is like on your skin. That's why baths can be so nourishing, or swimming or in a lake or in an ocean. It's very therapeutic to the body because it's touching the skin, and it's also that rocking and swaying.
I love that one. I feel that.
Yeah.
I love water.
So there's so many natural, amazing things that we've become so disconnected from because we've relied so much on pharmaceuticals to heal these things for us, when really it's just returning back to so many authentic things in nature and inside of ourselves.
The body and nature.
Yeah, the body.
They know the way.
The body and nature.
Now, I mean, regardless of what you believe about God or a higher power being in charge of all this, the body and nature know the way.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Like,
yeah.
Can I just speak to one more thing that I forgot to mention?
Yeah.
It's like really important in my journey, and I somehow forgot it. And that is, Darce, my diet.
Yeah.
I actually, again, like I said earlier about actually, perhaps surprisingly to some, feeling so much deep, genuine gratitude for my darkness, for my rock bottom, because of what it opened up for me. Similarly, part of that process, because of the way that I was living, I ended up with an autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, autoimmune destruction of my thyroid gland. And when I was diagnosed by my doctor with this condition, I said, okay, so what do we do about that? And she was like, well, there's no cure. All you can do is you can change your diet and avoid eating anything that is inflammatory. And I said, okay, what does that look like? And she's like, no sugar, no gluten, no dairy. And I was like,
all your favorite things.
No more chips and cheese in bed every night before bed. No more bowls of ice cream in bed before, at night before bed. Like, I had all these terrible habits related to food.
It was your coping mechanism.
It was another one of my coping mechanisms that I was unaware of. And because I was able to be relatively fit, no matter what I ate. I just ate whatever I wanted anytime. And, Darce, I was completely unaware, and I really hope that our listeners and viewers can at least take a look at this in your own life. I know that when I changed my diet, when I eliminated. Especially, I want to speak to sugar. Now, gluten, if you have no confirmed, diagnosed, indication that you have a gluten sensitivity or intolerance, okay, I still believe that gluten can be inflammatory, no matter what. Dairy, same thing. Like, dairy can be more inflammatory in some people than in others. But sugar, it's wild how destructive sugar is to our bodies, causing chronic low-grade inflammation in our guts, which then has a direct link to our mood.
Yeah.
And has been directly linked to depression. And what do people do who are depressed? They eat more sugar.
Yeah.
And so it's this vicious cycle of sugar causing, or at least being a contributor to a problem. And then that problem being quote unquote treated by more sugar. And it's just wild to me, again, going back to this idea of what we have now evolved to consider what is normal, the amount of sugar that we consume, especially in this country, is outrageous.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that the amount of sugar that I was consuming had some kind of role in my depression.
Yeah, for sure. Our culture and our food system here in Western civilization is not very conducive to healing.
Yeah.
It's just not. So you have to be the one that's proactive about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's very true. I'm not willing to give up my donuts, but I will minimize. Maybe.
Cinnamons and chocolate every once in a while is okay. But
yes.
The way that I was going at it.
It was every night.
And I see it a lot now. Like, and I'm not, I withhold judgment. I'm aware, like, kids walking around everywhere with soda, all sorts of different types of like things they're sucking on that are full of sugar. It's everywhere.
Well, yeah, there's
unprocessed foods that we eat all the time, full of sugar.
Soda, eating out, unprocessed foods, and screens. It's a recipe for depression and anxiety.
Once again, the body and nature. If we could just return to the body and return to nature, so much of our healing would be facilitated.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's just one more thing I wanted to add, and that was pleasure and play. So
I like this one.
In very small, I'm not talking about that type of pleasure right now. But,
well, that's healing though.
Well, it is, but I'm talking about like...
That's a whole nother episode.
When you're depressed, you're really disconnected from joy. And so it's allowing in these tiny micro moments of joy, of pleasure and play. Maybe that looks like listening to one of your favorite songs, or like taking a bath, like I said, or, going outside and just being outside and playing a game outside that's tolerable to you. I want to make sure that's very emphasized. We want to work in tolerable amounts because we don't want to continue to overload your system. And then the last thing I want to say is that as you start thawing out from depression and healing from depression, your body needs new patterns of expression. And this is a beautiful time to repattern because you feel safe to do so. So that could look like singing. It could be like you mentioned, like drumming.
Dancing.
And dancing. It could be journaling. It could be storytelling. Like, I think some of the most profound, amazing, beautiful art, music has come from people like thawing out of depression.
Yes, for sure.
So
many incredible artists in all genres suffered from severe depression.
Yeah.
That's true. So yeah, we were talking about this on our I think it was on our walk yesterday, this little saying that we both love. And it's referring to like more ancient indigenous type cultures where when someone was feeling down, they would immediately take them to the medicine woman or the medicine man or the shaman. And the question that would be asked to that person that was feeling down would be, oh, you're feeling down? Okay. When was the last time you sang? When was the last time you danced? When was the last time you told a story? And the point of this little saying is that, like, we've just gotten away from what really works.
Mm-hmm.
And that is authentic expression, oftentimes, perhaps in the form of some type of art,
Mm-hmm.
moving your body. Perhaps it's dancing, but maybe it's something else. Storytelling, well, that's referring to authentic connection with other human beings,
Mm-hmm.
people that you trust, people that are safe, people that you can deeply connect with.
Mm-hmm.
That's where healing takes place.
Yeah, so good. So good.
Yeah.
Before we close, I just wanted to briefly give voice to the spouse of the person who is experiencing depression. Because when one spouse is suffering with these symptoms, the other spouse is suffering as well. Maybe not in the same way, but it might mean like taking on more of the load at home, or just the fear and the pain that comes with seeing your partner hurting so deeply, and the fear of the future. I would just really suggest that you get support.
Yeah.
And you get help. And that's one of the things that I did not do. And it was more out of like protecting you, because you didn't want people to know. And I respected that. And maybe I would have felt the same way if I was experiencing that. But I do suggest that you seek support, because it can be a heavy burden to carry on your own. And we're not meant to do things alone like that. And so make time for yourself. Make time to be with friends. Make time so that your life force energy can stay active and can fill your cup, so that you can be of support to your spouse and be of support to your children during that time. Because otherwise you will feel depletion, and you will probably start feeling symptoms yourself if you do not take care of yourself during that time.
Yeah.
So I really just want to name that it can be really difficult for the partner as well, and to take care of yourself during that time. So
Very well said. Thank you, Darci.
Yeah.
And as we close up here, I just want to thank you. Thank you for always being there for me, and for being so strong.
Mm-hmm.
I never could have come through all of that without you. So thank you so much. I love you.
I love you too.
Free to be me, free to sing sweet feathers envelop me like a hug, whispering melodies.
You've played the part, fulfilled your role, built the business, carried the weight. But lately, something's off. The success you've created on the outside doesn't match how you feel on the inside. You're burnt out, disconnected, numb. This isn't weakness, it's a signal. It's not a crisis, it's a sacred opportunity. Getting Lost is Being Found is a coaching program where high-performing men rebuild from the inside out. Strengthen your body, clarity in your mind, fire in your soul. Go to my Instagram at Getting Lost is Being Found and shoot me a DM, or click the link in the show notes if you're ready to transform yourself into the man you were meant to be. You're not broken. You're being called back to who you really are. The Safe to Be Seen podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Darci and Brandon Burke do not claim to be experts. We have no intention to defend our beliefs or impose them onto others. This podcast provides a space to allow for us to share with others what it's like to be us. We desire to share our human journey with others. We advise you to seek professional counsel, therapy, and/or treatment from trained, credentialed, and certified professionals for any emotional, mental, and/or physical conditions you may be experiencing.